Traveling the Vortex.
Hi everybody, this is Casey Kasem, and welcome to another episode of Traveling the Vortex. But not just any episode, this is a big one, the Big 500, 500, an epiversary of epic proportions. To celebrate, we've got stacks of wax and platters that matter as we highlight the top 14 Doctor Who novelty songs.
I'm Keith.
I'm Sean.
I'm Glenn.
How are you guys?
Pretty good. I'm impressed that Sean was able to get Casey Kasem on the show to help us out.
Yeah.
I
hope you didn't have to pay him too much.
Well, he had to dig him up and resurrect him from the dead. But
I used my time machine.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't do anything so crass.
Back in the TARDIS, bringing forward, asking for some help.
Yeah. I'm people who know people.
Well, we're back after probably month and a half, almost 2-month hiatus, and good to be here. I'll start out because I want to apologize to our listeners for going on hiatus. I've had some health issues just about a month ago. What I thought was my heart, fortunately, is not my heart. Got it all checked out. The ticker's good, but we never really determined what was wrong. I was having some chest pain and some shortness of breath. I'm finally getting my breath back, but I am still seeing a pulmonary specialist to get hopefully more details. But that's where we've been. Unfortunately, when I would try to do any work or talking during the day, by the time it got around to evening, it was very difficult for me to breathe, and so then I would get really tired, and that was affecting my ability to do anything besides just the day-to-day things of working and doing things around the house. So again, I apologize. It's not exactly my fault, but it is my fault that we put the show on hold for a little while I mended, but I am feeling much better now. I'm able to I'm probably about 90% now. Still a little bit of shortness, but I still can't fill my lungs to capacity, I guess I should say, but much better now than I was doing. So, and I want to thank Sean and Keith both for understanding and really being very supportive in the last several weeks in trying to get through this. And then, of course, we probably could have come back a little sooner, but last week was my daughter's first week of college. So a week ago Friday, we moved her down to Emporia State University, which is where she's going to school, and got her all moved in. And then, of course, Monday came around, and we had talked about recording Monday, and I got a call with some panic because she wasn't able to get her books. So I was on the computer trying to get books and finalize some things, and she's had a few bumps along the way. So I thought, well, maybe we'll put off for another week, and I'll get her settled, both financially and psychologically for her, because it's a big endeavor for her, and it's brand new, and she's out there on her own. So we did a lot of hand holding. Yeah, we did a lot of hand holding last week until she got used to it, and she's much better this week. In fact, she got through the weekend a lot better. She's kind of figuring things out now, and she's feeling a lot more secure, a little less homesick. So. But, so big changes for us.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Did you guys do anything during the interim?
I need to go back to the time machine comment, because obviously I have slipped into a distant future, because there's no way Caitlin is in college.
Yep.
None. Because that means I'm really old. So there's just not accepting of this.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's gone fast, but she's grown up and all off on her own now. So Mason's in his last year of junior, or it's not going to call it junior high anymore, middle school. So
the big thing for us was that Shai started kindergarten.
Yeah, I saw the
Ooh.
pictures of first day. That was very cool.
So,
Is she liking it?
She is. They did this wonderful kindergarten boot camp where we pulled her out of daycare a little early for about 2 weeks, and she had, I think it was 3 days each week. And then they kind of went to the kindergarten and had kind of a mock run through of this is your teacher and this is how you will spend your day, and get them used to the faces and the routines.
That's a really good idea.
It was. I was super impressed, and it helped us to kind of figure out where the school is, and don't park here if you're going to pick them up and drop them off. And all I can think of is Mr. Mom. It's east to drop off and west to pick up, or however they did it in the movie. But just some acclimating going on. But it was all on our end. Shai was like, "Today I go to kindergarten." I was like, "No, honey, you've still got 5 days." "Today I go to kindergarten." "No, honey, it's 4 days now. We have a weekend. You've got to wait until Monday." And every day was the, thing. So we're getting used to the getting up and the walking her down to the corner where the bus picks her up. And although we straight up slept through our alarm today, I knew it was coming. I knew there had to be one day that was going to, and, Mel woke me up by swearing and, oh my God, and ran off. Oops. And I hear her upstairs. Dum, 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 dum. "Shai, get up. We're going to be late. Dum, 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 dum. Oh, we don't have time for that. Jarvis, I can't let you out right now." Dum, dum, dum. She's doing all this kind of stuff. And I move at a snail's pace anyway in the mornings, as anybody who knows me will tell you. I have already resigned myself to I'm driving her to school. There's no way we're getting out of here. We've got 20 minutes before the bus is supposed to be here. There's no way. So I kind of grab a shirt and, okay, and I'm moving. And I get upstairs, and she has got Shai dressed. She has got her hair done. She has got...
Wow.
All the time it took you to put on a shirt and get out of bed.
Jarvis is on the leash, and they're at the front door, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And we got her down and got her on the bus. Okay, so
well, good.
Nice.
I give all credit to Mel. She is a far superior human being when it comes to things like this, and I was suitably impressed. But that's been the big change over here, is just kind of adapting to the new schedule and. God, kindergarten.
How about you, Keith? How's family life?
Going pretty good. Gemma's not back in preschool yet. She has another week. She goes back a week from Wednesday. So she's very excited about that. Other than that, things have just been going as normal around here. Sarah started a new job with the Department of Education. So that's been a little bit of a shift, but she likes it so far.
Oh, good.
When did that happen?
2 weeks ago.
Oh, that's fairly recent then.
Yeah, very, very. 30% more pay. Can't complain there for the exact same job she was doing.
No. That's a good deal.
Yeah. So she likes everyone there so far. So everyone's really friendly. She feels like she's kind of found her people.
Even better.
Yeah.
Get paid and like what you do. That's the secret right there.
Yeah.
I've just been trying to survive work with the craziness that's been picking up, and we've been short-staffed. But the end is in sight. I have staff onboarding this week, next week, the week after that. So it's going to be getting better soon.
Got to admit, it's getting better. Getting better all the time.
We didn't pay royalties for the Beatles, so we can't do that.
Not appearing on this countdown.
Of course, we go on hiatus, and big news drops right in the middle of our time off. Sean or Keith, you want to tell us a little bit about what happened while we were
always
gone?
When we're off.
Fans will know. Fans will certainly know, but we're going to give our reaction to it now.
Well, the BBC have announced that both Chris Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker will be departing after a series of 3 specials in 2022.
I think it's crazy.
I
think it's crazy that I'm sad because I'm sad to see her go. I've thoroughly enjoyed her as a character. I've enjoyed Chibnall as a writer. I think that the seasons have been up and down, but I think there's been some solid writing. I don't feel like Jodie's reached her potential, and so maybe that's one of the things that I'm a little worried about. But that being said, all of the Doctors have done 3 seasons. This will be Jodie's 3rd season plus some specials. So even though this is a truncated season, those specials basically will equal out to what Capaldi did for sure. And even Smith, probably the length of time. She's still there longer than Eccleston, and not quite as long as Tennant once you add in a 4th season for him and then specials. But I mean, there's still a lot more Jodie to come, so it doesn't surprise me that they've decided.
Tennant only had 3 seasons.
No, he had 4. Oh no, you're right. He only had 3. I was thinking
he started with season 2.
4, but he started on season 2. You're right. He did only have 3.
But he had an extra couple of specials.
He did. He had 4 special. Well, 5 technically. If one was a 2-parter. So, yeah,
6
that's right.
if you include the 50th.
Well,
that
doesn't count because he came back.
It was a return.
That only counts for Matt.
Oh.
But so it's not. I think what frustrated me the most are the people that didn't like the Chibnall or Whittaker grouping or era, and they're all saying, well, this is happening because Doctor Who failed. Well, Doctor Who didn't fail. It's been doing better.
That's not why it's happening.
Yeah, it's been doing better than it ever has. It still has high ratings. It hasn't dipped. It's not. This isn't the reason. The reason is all actors pretty much do 3 seasons and out. That's just how it's been, with very few exceptions. So, I knew it was coming. I mean, we all knew that eventually it was going to come to an end. It's just, I think it's strange to see it this early because we've only had 2 seasons. But
well, and I think it's also feels a bit soon because we're used to showrunners who are doing 2 Doctors.
Yeah, right. That's true.
We've had 2 different showrunners that have done 2 different Doctors, and so the fact that Chibnall is leaving with Whittaker makes it feel a little bit more sudden or a bit soon that, maybe there was something going on just because he wants to go do something else.
Right.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. I personally do agree. I think Jodie's Doctor hasn't quite reached the potential of what she could have done, but I think as far as Chibnall goes, I think he's done a fairly good job of bringing a change and an air of differentness to the show that wasn't there before. It definitely felt like a big refresh. The tone, the visual style, the storytelling style, all of it was very different from what Moffat and Russell T Davies did before, and I think that was very much needed for the show at this point. So I'm also looking forward to seeing what they do moving forward.
I am thoroughly disappointed that we are losing Jodie. I 100% agree with the assessment that it just doesn't feel like she has had the opportunity to hit her stride. I disagree when I say that the writing has been pretty solid.
I didn't say the writing has been solid. I said the show running has been solid.
Yeah, Glenn,
right. Actually, I don't think I
did.
used solid, but I said the writing's been pretty good.
Yeah, no, I feel for me that's where the seasons so far have fallen down under Chibnall has definitely been in the writing, and I can't honestly say that I am so sorry to see him go. I'm not rooting. I'm not outside his house with a pitchfork and torches or anything, but I am glad that we're going to have some new blood. I am sad that Jodie's tenure kind of came with it's tainted by the toxic fandom and all of the nonsense that came along with it, and I just think it's unfortunate that the writing didn't live up to what I'm sure she could have delivered, which really would have hushed a lot of the naysayers. But I'm with Keith. I look forward to see what they do next and where we go from here. I think it's going to be very interesting, no matter who winds up in either the head's position or the shoes of the Doctor.
If a show deserves to run forever, it's Doctor Who, because it can reinvent itself enough that it won't ever be the same. It shouldn't ever have to be the same thing it was previously. Now, only times it is when Either there's obviously great homage happening or laziness.
Well, I want to know what our listeners have to say, and I want you guys to go to the Traveling the Vortex Listeners Forum on Facebook and see what you guys think. Let's hear from you. All right, well, should we move on to the big fun part of the show? Let me set it up a little bit by saying we are reviewing some Doctor Who novelty music, and this is something that we really haven't done on the program in the 500 episodes that we've done. We've talked a little bit about music here and there just in conversation, but I've put together some songs on a list, and all of them except for one were made before the show's return in 2005. And so what isn't included are songs that are just variations on the Doctor Who theme. There's been a lot of those over the year, although many of these songs that are on this list do incorporate the theme in some way. I decided to stay away from just reimaginings of the theme. I also didn't include any songs from the Time Lord rock or Trock era, which sprung up after the show's return. Time Lord Trock stands for Time Lord Rock, if you don't know. It was kind of coined by one of the first Doctor Who tribute bands, which was Chameleon Circuit in the early 2000s. There's also, if you didn't know, there's also Wizard Rock or Rock for Harry Potter. But those are specifically bands that are tribute bands to a specific show or genre. So I kind of stayed away from those. Now, some of these that are in here might be forerunners to Trock, but we'll talk about that when we get there. But there might be an exception later on the list. And then, of course, what follow are genuine releases. They were either vinyl or CD or special flexi disc by genuine performers, many of which were genuinely released with an eye of hitting the British charts. And we'll find that one on the list even maybe did. So, without further ado, let's review Doctor Who novelty music.
Hi, Casey Kasem here, leading us off from 1964, I'm Gonna Spend My Christmas with a Dalek by the Go-Go's.
I'm gonna spend my Christmas with a Dalek and hug him underneath the mistletoe. And if he's very nice, I'll feed him sugar spice and hang a Christmas stocking from his big left toe. And when we both get up on Christmas morning, I'll kiss him on his chromium-plated head and take him in to say hi to Mum and frighten Daddy out of his bed. Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
Happy Christmas!
Happy Christmas!
Merry Christmas!
Merry
To
Christmas!
you.
All right, there you go. Is a little bit of that song. Now, this song was released pretty much to cash in on the British popularity of the show and the Daleks in particular that were huge at the time. This was about the time that Dalek Mania was going in full swing. And this group is obviously not the Go-Go's that we're familiar with from the 1980s with Belinda Carlisle. The Go-Go's, were a British group from Newcastle, England, and I believe this was their only song that they recorded. Songwriter and record producer Les Van Dyke, who at the time was going by the name Johnny Worth, was largely responsible for this track. It was put out by RPM Records. RPM Records released this on a compilation of Doctor Who novelty songs in 2000, and the disc was called Who is Doctor Who? And this was one of the tracks. So, what do you guys think of this song?
I'm shocked that it was not the Go-Go's. I am shocked by a lot of things about this song because, honestly, I think it does have a slight Go-Go sound. Obviously, it's a silly novelty song. I was shocked to learn that it was from 1964 because I did not think that this kind of let's poke fun at something that's popular was that big back then. I wouldn't have even remotely imagined it. And as you said, capitalize on the popularity of the Daleks. Totally makes sense, but. Yeah, for my money, it's a rather weak intro to this concept. It's an okay song. It's a little goofy, but it was fun, I guess. Won't be on any of my Christmas compilations coming up, I can tell you that.
It's regularly on my Christmas playlist every year. So,
Of course it is.
Glenn probably just listens to it any time of the year.
well, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
sometimes that too. Keith, what'd you think?
It felt like a standard Christmas novelty song of the times for me. So, in the song it most called to mind while listening to it is "I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas,"
Yeah,
Yeah.
which came out in '53. So the fact that this was '64, I'm not that surprised by. It's surprising that it's that early in the run, but it also sounded and felt like it was of the '50s or '60s just by listening to it by ear. So I wasn't too surprised by that part. I thought it was a cute song. It is what it is. It's a fun little Christmas song.
I think it would be heavily probably inspired by, and I don't remember what year this came out, but Spike Jones was doing novelty songs in the 50s and 60s, and All I Want for Christmas Is My Two Front Teeth, as Keith mentioned, the Hippopotamus song, which is not a Spike Jones song, but it was another Christmas parody, and then I'm Getting Nothing for Christmas. It really kind of harks that style of fun Christmas novelty tune. So it doesn't surprise me that it was made this early on, but what surprises me about it, and I think Sean, maybe this is where you're coming from too, is that it was released only a year after the show premiered. So the Daleks had just premiered probably at the first of the year of this year. Dalek Mania became a huge thing in 1964 and then continued to grow even beyond that. And this record came out, and I was surprised that it was so near to the first, the debut of Doctor Who on television was what surprised me the most.
Yeah, I mean, the show started in November of '63, and the first episode was, 4 parts. That means the Daleks didn't really even broadcast until '64, right?
Right.
I guess maybe they would have started in December.
Oh, I think it might have been early early '64. So yeah, because the episodes aired in, the show started in November, so you'd had at least 4
in late November at that.
Yeah, so you'd had 4 weeks before. So yeah, the Daleks would have been after the first of the year. So
that's striking while the iron is hot. Let me tell you.
Yeah. It does take an interesting approach to the Daleks too, because it's a friendly Dalek. It's not the Daleks that we're familiar with from, at this time would have been the only serial that had been out by this time, I think. Right? We hadn't done I guess. Oh gosh, the Chase and they wouldn't have revisited. Yeah, they wouldn't have revisited the Daleks at this point. So
Dalek Invasion Earth would have been the next one.
Yeah. So this is this would have been, and this is a friendly Dalek who's enjoying Christmas. I did think one of the stretches was, and of course, how else do you rhyme mistletoe? But and hug him underneath the mistletoe, and if he's nice, and feed him sugar and spice, and hang a Christmas stocking from his big lead toe, which implies that the Daleks have a lead toe, which we know that
the front of their casing.
The casing doesn't. Yeah. So, but funny little lyrics like that, I think, are make the story the thing charming. And obviously, it's from a little girl's point of view, because the lady that's singing this song puts on the airs of being a child. So.
Did anybody else think the Dalek sounded like John Leeson?
A little bit.
Really?
Not like K9, but John Leeson.
Really? I didn't get that at all. Interesting. All right, well, moving on.
Next up on our list, Roberta Tavi with Who's Who, Doctor Who.
If you see a man with long grey hair and a funny little smile on his face, gotta make you laugh or hold your breath as he travels from place to place. He'll meet all kinds of people wherever he may go, and all his friends will tell you that if they should want to know who's who, who's who. Well, Doctor Who, of course, he's quite at home in a big spaceship or
this one was released in 1965, and if you guys are not familiar with who Roberta Tavi is, this was one of the two singles that sprung up after the successful 1965 film Doctor Who and the Daleks, and this is Roberta Tavi who played Susan in the films.
I thought the name sounded familiar.
Yeah, so, and this song was co-written by the film's incidental music composer, and this apparently in-character novelty song has become a classic reminder of 60s Doctor Who, and its release highlights the power of Dalek Mania as it continued through the years. What's interesting is that the Who in question by the title is more difficult to determine than it might sing, because the first line, the first reference, is William Hartnell's Doctor, about the long hair, white long hair. However, calling him by his name Who implies that Tavi is in fact singing about Peter Cushing's Doctor Who she would have been the granddaughter to in the film. This would also line up with the fact that Tavi played, Susan. So I think it's kind of twofold, and it might be the songwriter capitalizing on both the TV series and the film in this case. On a rather dubious B-side to this, the song Not So Old by Tavi is singing about making an older man promise to wait for her to grow up so that they can be together.
Jeez.
Whoa.
All the innocence of the 1960s. Both can be found.
You crazy Brit.
That did not sound that innocent.
Both can also be found on the Doctor Who, or Who is Doctor Who compilation CD from 2000. Which, by the way, if anybody wants to buy me that CD, Christmas is coming up. I'd be glad to have it. The cheapest I could find it was $68. The most expensive one was $498. So it's out of print, so it's a little pricey.
Ouch.
What'd you guys think of this one?
This is one that I've listened to it at least twice, and it just does not stay in my head.
It doesn't?
No, I don't know why. It just is not one that sticks with me.
Wow.
I'm even looking at the lyrics, and I'm like, I kind of remember the song, but it's, just not really.
You see a man with long gray hair and a funny little smile on his face.
I think after a bit, my brain wanders.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because this to me was one of the most catchy. In fact, more so than the doll. This was one that I've been listening to this playlist that I made of these songs all week long, and I would go into work humming, particularly this and a couple of other ones on the list, which we'll get to. But I think it's because of that kind of that doo-woppy sound of the 60s that the Dalek for Christmas and the one that we'll review next, they just stick in my head for some reason, and I think it just has to be that sing-songy beat.
For me, I thought this was kind of a bit like an up-tempo Puff the Magic Dragon.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the kind of sing-song quality of it, and the fact that it has kids, and it's very innocent, but it's not the Puff the Magic Dragon is a very melancholy song for as surprisingly catchy that hook is, whereas this one was more, like you said, it's kind of a doo-wop. It's a fun song. I liked it a lot. I'm kind of with Keith in that, I don't remember any of the lyrics, but the I enjoyed this one.
Well, and this one's less of a drug song hidden as a kid's fairy tale.
Well, yeah.
At least as far as we know.
What was Puff the Magic Dragon's B-side? Let's get to the chase here.
Yeah. Maybe is controversial. I don't know. Now, I think it's funny because this one again. I think it suits the 1960s, and it has that sing-songy quality that just it sticks in my head. This is one of my favorites on the playlist.
And some of it could be, it does sound a lot like a kid's song.
It does, yeah.
And it could be my brain has just become accustomed to tuning it out.
That's true. You both probably do have more kid-like music playing in your households.
Have Coco Melon in the background a lot.
I'm about probably 9 years removed from the having that kind of music in my house. So yeah, I can see where that might be. That does make sense.
I think that's a larger part of it.
I'll buy that for $1.
All right.
I've trained myself not to get those songs stuck in my head.
Yeah, I just let them absorb into my brain.
What can I say except you're welcome?
Well, that's Disney songs are different.
All right, moving right along.
Doctor Who's own Fraser Hines, who plays companion Jamie McCrimmon on the show, comes in with our third sampling with Who's Doctor Who.
He has a time machine to travel through the ages, to take a look at history. He simply turns the pages.
He knows the prince of two and kings of two a penny. He never thinks of money, no, although he hasn't any. They all say, who is Doctor Who? Where is he from? What does he do? They wonder who is Doctor Who? So I ask you,
All right, this one was released just a few years later in 1968. The novelty record Who's Doctor Who came out during Hines' third year on the show, and it was released by Major Minor Records and written by Barry Mason and Les Reed. And the song was not exactly a smash hit, and it was later called by Hines himself the only flop Mason and Reed ever wrote. Hines has said that in several interviews that the reason he was approached to sing this song was because he looked like a typical English rocker. And of course, this song also can be found on the 2000s Doctor Who, Who is Doctor Who CD. So, what do you guys think of this one? Will you come in a little biased because this is one of our friends, Fraser?
I say boo this man and his opinions that this is a flop. Boo this man, I say. This is a catchy song. This is how you do it. This one is stuck in my head. It is legit lovely. I fell for this one. I fell hard for it, and I went, and I didn't know it was Fraser Hines. I just popped it on and was listening. And
you didn't? You didn't know that ahead of time? That's funny you say that.
I didn't know it ahead of time.
I remember this song. I thought we've talked about this song.
We talked about that.
Probably have.
You know why? Because I brought this to you guys before we interviewed Fraser Hines at one of the conventions, and we asked him about this. And in fact, we were one of those conventions where he told us that the reason why he was approached was because he looked like a typical English rocker. So,
yeah, for whatever reason, all of that was not in my brain anymore. It's lost to time. And so I started it up and I was listening to it and I was like, oh, I like this one. This is fun. And it's kind of bouncy and catchy. And okay. And I went to go make my notes and then looked at because Glenn has sent us a playlist listing of the order that we're doing these. And, Who's Doctor Who? Fraser Hines. And I went, well, that's just like, hey, wait a minute. Literally had that reaction. So yeah, no, I do not remember anything about the Fraser interview.
Well, I think we talked about it.
Terrible.
We talked about it in brief among a lot of things that we asked Fraser, and we've seen. Well, you and I at least have seen Fraser at 3 conventions. Now talked to him at 3 conventions now. So.
Well, when I see him at number 4, I'm going to tell him he is flat out wrong for not liking this song. I'm gonna make this song a hit through sheer force of will. I will get it played on radio stations across the world.
What do you think, Keith?
I like it. I remember it from when we had done that convention. When it popped on, I went, oh yeah, this one. It took me a couple minutes to remember. Oh yeah, that was Fraser, and yeah, okay. And where do I know this song from? But I like this the fact that it has kind of that teen British sound to it, kind of, although these aren't teen British bands, but it has kind of a Monkees feel to it.
Oh, well, yeah, that's totally because
Of course, they were trying to capitalize
that's
on
just
that
it.
craze also.
This is very much like the in line of the Monkees or the Animals, and I was a little surprised that Sean didn't bring that up since the Monkees is one of his favorite groups. Although you're a big Monkees fan as well, Keith, so
Yeah,
that's why you went there.
That may be the other reason I like it.
Oh, well, I completely went there because when the very first time I heard this song, I thought, oh, this is very much like the Monkees or the Animals or other bands of that time, British or American. Very much that style of rock and roll music at the time.
And it's catchy. I think it's got pretty good lyrics.
Does this one stick in your head?
This one sticks in my head.
Oh, good. Because this was another one that I was humming at work all the time. In fact, I catch myself humming it out loud and think, oh, was anybody listening to me? Because nobody will know what that is.
We're concerned about Glenn.
He's singing some really weird stuff.
I think if anybody heard this, if you weren't listening to the lyrics specifically, talking about Doctor Who, I think that most people might listen to this song and enjoy it just from the standpoint of the fact that it sounds very much like those British singles from the late 60s. So I think this is probably one that would be an across the board. You don't even have to be a fan and be like this song.
There's That Thing You Do by the Wonders, and then there's Who's Doctor Who, but it's that level.
Yeah, this is very high on my favorites of the list.
Yeah.
And now that I have a digital copy, I will probably just add it to my iPod to play randomly.
There you go.
Maybe in my office even.
Well, next up, we move into another decade.
We move from companion to doctor. John Pertwee himself lent his voice to Who is the Doctor?
I cross the void beyond the mind, the empty space that circles time. I see where others stumble blind to seek a truth they never find. Eternal wisdom is my guide. I am the Doctor. Through cosmic waste the TARDIS flies to taste the secret source of life. A presence science can't deny exists within, outside, behind the latitude of human minds. I am the Doctor.
All right, this one was released in 1972, and it is a 7-inch. It was released on 7-inch vinyl. This is probably one of the more familiar Doctor Who novelty songs, especially for fans. I think that a lot of fans would hear this and had gone, okay, I'm familiar with this, or they have it maybe on a playlist somewhere. The song is a single performed by John Pertwee. It was arranged and written by Rupert Hines, and it features Pertwee reciting lyrics over Hines' rearrangement of the Doctor Who theme. Its B-side, Pure Mystery, was another spoken word piece by Pertwee, but it had no connection to Doctor Who. The Fifth Doctor recites a few of the first lines in the Big Finish audio Circular Time. And then John Levine actually sang this song once as a tribute to John Pertwee, but he replaced the line, I'm the Doctor, with the words, I knew the Doctor. And you can find this track on that Doctor Who, or Who is Doctor Who compilation as well. This is one that I got to jump in real quick. This is one that I was surprised that it's done in a it's obvious a chosen style to do it, because I think it's supposed to be coming from the perspective of this is the Doctor, and so I don't think, at least at the time, we would have thought the Doctor would have been sing-songy and sang a song. We were proved later in Doctor and the Pirates, but at this time it wasn't in character for the Doctor to sing. But maybe speaking lines in poetry would have been something he'd do. So I understand that they did it that way, but I am a little surprised because John Pertwee has actually a very decent singing voice. He has done stage musicals as well. He also released a song on an album singing as Wurzel Gummidge too, and he has several songs that he's released on that. And one fairly popular one that was released did a lot better in Australia. But he has a good voice. He can sing. So it's not like he did this out of necessity. I think Shatner, he does that because I don't think Shatner can carry turns. So he does spoken word when he does it. But I don't think Pertwee needed to do this in this one. But what you guys think?
I was fairly surprised by this one. It was not the type of song I expected, because it was spoken word. But I thought it was a neat approach to it to have John Pertwee do spoken word over music in character. And I thought I recognized the first couple of lines, so I'm glad that you pointed that out, Glenn. And correct me if I'm wrong, this is one of the first ones that actually incorporates some of the theme to it, isn't it?
That of the ones on this list, this is our first one that does have the theme.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right.
So it was kind of a cool, trippy spoken word 70s feel to it. It's not one I'll play a lot, but I'll like it.
I want this as the new theme song.
For the show or for our podcast?
Well, both, but we'll start with the podcast.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean,
it does feel a little bit like John Pertwee's trying to ride the coattails of Shatner's spoken word album. I mean, Transform Man did come out in 1968, and this was 1972. So, I mean, it does feel a little bit like copycatting.
Well, it may have been inspired by that. Rupert Hines, when he put it together, I don't think Pertwee came to him and said, "Hey, I'd like to do a Shatner thing," but I think that probably Rupert Hines heard Shatner doing this and said, this might work for Doctor Who as well. So, although this didn't get a full album, this was just a 7-inch single, so it had
that's probably to its benefit.
This and its B-sides. So.
Not only the Shatner, but Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah, I didn't have the date on that one. So.
1967.
Okay.
Of Mr. Spock's Music from Outer Space, which featured a lot of spoken word and poetry by Leonard Nimoy in character as Spock. If you want a trippy album, check that one out.
Yeah, because he did it first, and then Shatner said, "Hey, I want to do that too."
Not to be one-upped.
Yeah, not well. Nobody one-ups the Shat. This, to me, like I said, I fell in love with it. I thought it was awesome. And I laughed a little bit, but just the audacity of it, the fact that it is Pertwee, and he's doing this very dramatic reading, and you've got this cool arrangement of the Who theme in there, and it's very thriller. It sounds a bit like Vincent Price at times, that he's doing that kind of thing, and Pertwee of all of the Doctors. At least all of the classic Doctors, Pertwee would have been the rock star. If we're playing Marvel's What If, and a handful of things had gone differently with his flamboyant dress and the shock of white hair, even he has a stage persona. Mm-hmm. I think he could have very easily fit in with the glam rockers of the time, and would not have been out of place at all. So the fact that he's doing it is just kind of one more thing that made me love this song. And, while it doesn't have the same replayability, I don't think, as the Fraser Hines one, because that one's kind of more of it's kind of like some Weird Al stuff. Like, you listen to some of Weird Al's originals that aren't parodies. And, they're just good songs in their own right, but then you listen to the lyrics and you go, okay, he's making fun of this, or he's, written something ridiculous here. But just to hear the song, you wouldn't necessarily think it out of place if you heard it on the radio. And where the Fraser Hines song fell into that, this one, very obviously, because of the use of the theme, is more of a novelty. But thumbs up here. I really liked this one.
I would agree with you liking this too. The spoken word part of Thriller with Vincent Price, that very much does invoke that in my memory. When I hear this, that was the first thing I went to, was that part. And in fact, at the end, when he says, "Know me, I'm the Doctor," I almost expect to hear Vincent Price laugh at the end. It just was there. So yeah, I like this one. It's very much a product of its time, I think, and the compilation, or not the compilation, but the arrangement of the theme is very, very early 1970s. It really has that feel of music almost on that synth pop, moving into that disco, almost there, not quite there yet, because disco was still a year or two off. But you can tell that this was music leading into that era, and it really feels like that. All right, well, next up.
For our next tune, we head down under with the Ballad of Doctor Who. Doctor Who is Gonna Fix It from 1983 and Bullamankaka.
I was sitting in front of the TV set, there was nothing much else to do. Then along come this amazing code, they called him Doctor Who. It was 6:30 on the ABC, just before the news. No ads to interrupt me on an interspatial cruise. There was moving metal madness, self-programmed to destroy. The Doctor has them covered to thwart their every ploy. Exterminate, exterminate that evil monotone. The Doctor fights the Daleks and I'm then all alone. Doctor Who is gonna fix it? Doctor Who will put it right as he moves across the galaxy at twice the speed of light. Back into the future, the TARDIS travels time with his beautiful assistant and his trusty mate K9.
Released in 1983, a full decade later than our last song on the list, Bullamankaka is a traditional Australian folk music band. And the Novelty song kind of gave us a glimpse into the world of Doctor Who from an Aussie perspective. So if you wondered when they sing the line about sitting down or at 6 o'clock on the BBC or the ABC, they were talking about the Australian Broadcasting Corporation instead of the BBC. So I was confused the first time I heard this because I thought it's not on ABC, it's on BBC. Australia was the second viewing country overseas to screen Doctor Who, and after careful review by its editing board, we're thankful now for nowadays because there are some clips that exist thanks to them. It was aired on Australian Broadcasting Corporation channel number 2 or ABC, hence the reference to the ABC and not the BBC in this song. What do you guys think of this one?
This was one of my favorites. This one's been in my head the most since I've heard it.
It's got that catchy, pithy beat. It's very much a folk song. It's very much a song that is. I know that's an Australian tradition as well, but it's very much a Southern tradition here. Not quite bluegrass, but kind of in that bluegrass tradition. It's very much that folk beat that is very popular in the U.S. as well.
Yeah, it's just the chorus. It just sticks in your head. The rest of the song was good too. It's just the chorus just gets that's an earworm right there.
A little surprised to find out that it is Australian, because I genuinely thought it had kind of a Celtic lilt to it.
Yeah,
I could see that a little bit.
And maybe it's just again the time frame that we're talking about, or the upbeat tempo of it. It reminded me a little bit of "Come On, Eileen."
Yeah.
From the Dexy's Midnight Runners, sure. Something akin to that, with kind of just the stomping and just a lot of energy to it. I don't love it as much as Keith does. It very much falls more into the kind of novelty thing as opposed to a quote-unquote legit song for me. But it's fun. And, we knew that there were going to be... well, no, I didn't know that. I'm quite surprised there were songs that I liked on this list. I kind of figured this was going to be... I'm tipping my hand. I really thought going into this was going to be a disaster show, because I figured I was going to hate everything for not being able to pull it off.
I had faith, knowing you were such a Weird Al Yankovic fan. I knew I was going to find some on this list that was going to fall into that wheelhouse.
Got to be something. But yeah, no, it is fun. It is a fun song.
I like the tonal.
About K9.
Yeah, I like the tonal change of it. I like how the verses have a one type of beat and style, and then it shifts into that kind of more bouncy. Doctor Who is gonna fix it. Doctor Who will put it right. And so I like how it changes on a beat. And yeah, you brought up K9. It's clearly an era of Tom Baker, because it's Tom Baker, and they talk a lot about K9. And, obviously coming out in 1983, this would have been just on the heels of the Tom Baker years. So, in fact, they were probably seeing a lot of repeats in Australia at this time. So, all right. Well, let's move on to our next one, which this might be the one that gets a little bit of controversy.
Mirroring real-world events, Doctor in Distress, Who Cares? Was released in 1985 by members of the show in an attempt to save it from the hatchet men at BBC.
18 months is too long to wait. Bring back the doctor, don't hesitate. 18 months is too long to wait. Bring back the doctor, don't hesitate. 18 months is too long to wait. Bring back the doctor, don't hesitate. 18 months is too long to wait. Bring back the doctor, don't hesitate. No, 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 no. Bring back the doctor. Bring back the doctor.
We've learned to accept 6 doctors with companions at their side.
When they were faced with danger, they didn't run, they didn't hide.
Brigadier and a master and a canine computer.
Each screaming girl just heard that a Yeti wouldn't shoot her. Doctor in distress, let's all answer his SOS. Doctor in distress, bring him back now, we won't take less. Bring him back now.
So in 1995, when the production of the series was suspended for a year and it looked as if it faced cancellation, this charity single was produced and written by Ian Levine and freelancer Fiachra Trench. And they had previously collaborated on the theme music for K9 and Company. So if you know that, familiar enough with that song, this is, Fiachra Trench at least helped put that one into existence as well. When news came out that the song was being made, there were rumors that performers such as the Village People and Elton John were going to be able to be there to sing on the single, but as we know, that didn't happen. But 4 regulars from the TV series: Colin Baker as the 6th Doctor, Nicola Bryant, who played Companion Perry Brown, Nicholas Courtney, who was the recurring character of the Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart, and of course Anthony Ainley, who was playing the Master at the time, did feature on the album or on the song. The music was played by Hans Zimmer. Yes, that Hans Zimmer, the composer Hans Zimmer, the movie composer Hans Zimmer. Proceeds from the single went straight to charity for cancer research, and it was universally panned, and the BBC refused to broadcast the song on its radio stations on the grounds of its poor quality, not because it was disparaging of the BBC. An accompanying video was also released, which can be found on YouTube. The song was released in the UK around the same time as USA for Africa's charity single, We Are the World, which in turn was inspired by the UK single Do They Know It's Christmas by Band Aid the previous year. So,
Well,
To be fair, the recording of it does not seem to be the best quality.
no, this particular one isn't, and this was the best I could find as well. I think that this particular recording comes from the YouTube video. I can't verify that for sure, but if you watch the video that's on YouTube and you listen to the MP3 file that I was able to find, they are very much the same, so I'm wondering if it's probably from the same source.
I can't imagine that the fact that this exists, don't get me wrong, it's reason to celebrate.
Reason to celebrate?
It is.
Okay, go ahead.
I mean,
Proceed.
Doctor Who was Doctor Who was in a bad spot. And the fact that Ian Levine, super fan that he was at the time, said, "You know what we should do? We should do like Band-Aid and get bunch of celebrities together to record a song to help save Doctor Who." And then not do that. Because there, as you said, Elton John, if you're going to swing for the fences, Ian, I love you. Go large or go home. So you didn't get the celebrities. You didn't get the big star. We got Colin Baker. I mean, that's cool. You got Nicole O'Brien. All right. And then you muck up the audio recording to the point where even the BBC's like, nah, man, no.
No.
I can't imagine that you mentioned that this is the recording from the YouTube video. First of all, the fact that the YouTube video exists, that it survived and wasn't like...
Well, it's on a DVD, isn't it?
One of the great injustices of life is the fact that this thing still is here on this planet, and yet actual episodes of Doctor Who have been lost. That's unfair. That is so not right. And I'm sorry, Glenn, but no matter what you say, this is not We Are the World.
No, it is not.
I'm off. I'm putting away my soapbox.
It
I'm
is
done.
not We Are the World in any way. Keith, I'm gonna let you go first. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm very similar opinions as Sean. It's not that catchy. It's not very... I've never been a big fan of the We Are the World and all the other, let's all get together and sing a song for a charity. I like the idea of it. Just the songs never grab me. Never have. So the fact that it's in that vein does not do it any favors. The fact that people on the song can't sing can't do it any favors. The fact that Hans Zimmer wrote it is
No.
amazing.
He did the accompaniment.
He
Song.
did the accompaniment.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then we can't blame him.
And it just says he played. He just says he played the music on it. It didn't necessarily even say he wrote the music. So I think this was all a Levine and Trench joint here. So
I will say the involvement of Hans Zimmer does elevate this a bit.
It's just his playing.
He must have been desperate for some work as a musician.
Well,
He had not yet hit it large.
This was early days for Hans Zimmer, so
He obviously hadn't become the composer he was destined to be.
I didn't mention a lot of these because I don't recognize any of these people, but on the Wikipedia, it does say that Faith Brown, who's a comedian apparently, a bunch of other ones, Warren Kane or Kahn from Ultravox. I'm sure some people have heard of that. Floyd Pierce from Hot Gossip. Bobby G from...
Nicholas Courtney's there.
Well, yeah, Nicholas
I
Courtney.
know that one.
We named those. We named them.
Oh, I didn't hear you say.
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
Sorry.
I named the people from the show, but no, I'm talking about the I'm talking about the other people on here that we weren't familiar with. There are members of the Moody Blues, Justin Hayward and John Lodge. I'm seeing. So I mean, there's that. I guess you got two of the Moody Blues on here. Time UK had some members. Tight Fit had some members. None of these people are familiar to me. There's probably some UK listeners that may know these and are familiar. If they are, I apologize, but we didn't include these because I had no idea who they were, and I wasn't sure any other American fans might either. So
I know of Ultravox only because David Warner mentioned them in the Doctor Who episode that he's in. In Cold War, there's an Ultravox joke.
Okay, well there you go.
That's as far as my knowledge goes on this band.
Anyway, this song is so cringy. It is so cringy. This is a song I love to hate and I hate to love. It's the audacity of the idea behind this, but also the genius of the idea behind this. I mean, God bless them for trying. It really, Doctor Who, they're so passionate about bringing the show back. The fans want it back. We're going to create a charity single, and this, by God, is going to get the BBC to bring the show back. And on the other hand, lyrics like 18 months is too hard to wait. Bring back the Doctor. Don't hesitate. It's almost like a threaten. It's like they're threatening the BBC. You don't bring him back or else. That's one of the cringeworthy things. And then, of course, some of the people singing on here, and it almost, when it comes to the Brig and the Master, they're both basically just speaking their parts because they clearly couldn't sing. And it's just, I love that Ainley puts the Master laugh in, though. That's just, I love that. That's brilliant. I absolutely love it. But even the people that I think were on this list that might have been singers or musicians, they should have known better. They should have known better.
Yeah.
They should have stepped up and said, is there something maybe they didn't take it serious. Maybe they were just like, this is, money going to cancer research, which is great. That ultimately, I think that even if the conceit of this, the fact that the charity money went to cancer research, I think is admirable. So I will give it high marks for doing that.
Except I can't imagine it would have made a lot.
Probably not. I don't know. Let me look here. I don't think I said.
And I know it's it goes to a good cause, but it's a song about bringing Doctor Who back. In a time when they did We Are the World.
Right. Yeah, it's
and all these other great,
Now, to be fair, We Are the World
wouldn't
have been out yet. It would have been in the works at this point. So, but it was on the heels of Band-Aid doing Do They Know It's Christmas, which is obviously more of a humanity tied plea rather than a personal fan plea. It's just. It comes across in poor taste.
The cancer research aspect feels like we should probably make this so it goes to charity too. An afterthought.
It does
more than the main thrust.
Yeah.
This feels like it's one step away from having a Captain America PSA, where he comes in and puts the chair down and looks at the camera and goes, "So you've written a charity theme song about saving your favorite TV show. Why?
Don't
move out of your parents' basements."
Oh,
this song makes my brain hurt.
It's a stinker. Let's
like you, I kind of want to like it. I feel bad hating on it, but yet I'm gonna hate on it because.
And it's funny too, because thinking about it in a 2021 perspective, we've had almost close to 18-month breaks now. That's nothing.
Well,
we'll go a year without an episode. No big deal. The fact that they wrote a song to complain about it's been 18 months since the show's been on, bring it back.
Well,
is like
in 1985, you get a bunch of fans and celebrities together, and you make a song. In 2021, you start a change.org petition.
That's true. This is a 1985 change.org.
Right.
Back in our days, petitions were called songs.
Let's move along. Let's move along and wipe this one out of the taste of this one out of our mouths.
Slaves of Cain was next on our list with a little ditty they called Absalom Dak Dollar Killer.
These 10 freaks are dumber than I thought. Muslim dog. Dalek killer.
So this one was released in 1990 on both 7-inch and 12-inch singles. In 1989, record producer Andy Grant had come up with a concept EP called Variations on a Theme, which featured the Doctor Who theme in various styles, and it became a favorite with fans. So in 1990, he got together with Doctor Who music contributor Dominic Glenn and came up with the theme from Absalom Dak Dalek Killer by the group The Slaves of Kane, which featured Glenn and Martin Smith, who helped produce the song. The song's based around the spin-off character from Marvel's Doctor Who comic strips and borrowed heavily from the style of the English rock band The Stranglers. The song failed to reproduce the success of Variations on a Theme. A flexi disc with an extract from the single was given away with Doctor Who magazine, and the song features dialogue between Dak and the Daleks, where he's being voiced by John E. Machine. John E. Machine. I just got that. and I think we're more familiar with Absalom Dak nowadays. We haven't reviewed much of the Marvel stuff yet, which I think we'll go back and do. But he has been introduced in Titan Comics in the more recent line with the 11th Doctor as of recently. So we are familiar enough with Absalom. So Dak, what do you guys think?
It was different.
It's a long pause, and then it's different.
Only Absalom Dak could have a metal song.
Yeah, right.
I mean that the tonally it fit the character completely. I can't imagine this was very popular, since I can't imagine the character was very widely known. But it would have been. It felt like it should have been the theme song, or an introduction video for a cartoon show.
Yeah.
On Adult Swim. It had that kind of feel to it. It was kind of more of that spoken word kind of thematic storytelling being done to it. So in that aspect, it was cool. It's not one I'm going to go back and re-listen to a lot.
Yeah.
If at all.
Hard to disagree. This was great. It is fantastic. It sounds like the Bobby Brown Ghostbusters 2 song, and I agree with you that it should be the theme. We joked about it once that we want an Absalom Dak TV show. This is the theme for the Absalom Dak TV show. I don't care if it's animated or not. This is how you open that show. And a bunch of Daleks and a crazy guy smoking a cigar with a chainsaw. Yeah. I am there every Friday night, my friend. Shut up and take my money.
Yeah, and Keith, you'd mentioned that it probably wasn't quite popular, but it certainly is a fan service song. And I think that they were targeting fans with it. I mean, it was obviously by the guys that had done Variation on a Theme, which was popular with fans. It was based on the Marvel Doctor Who comic strips that were running in Doctor Who magazine. And so there would have been a lot of Doctor Who fans at the time that would have been very familiar with the character. So I think it is very targeted, and I think that's what you're saying. But there would have been a lot of people that would have been familiar from within fandom at the time. Even if they are a little more removed now, because it is such a footprint in time for Doctor Who for many new fans or fans that have come to it much later. Absalom Dak, I should say, was also featured in the new series. He was one of the pictures of the convicts that they ran through in Time Heist.
Oh, that's true.
So I'm with Sean. I like it for what it is, and I do remember us saying that Absalom Dak should just have his own theory and series, and this definitely would be the theme song. But I would agree with you, Keith, in the fact that it should be a Cartoon Swim series, and it should be in that same style of Cartoon Swim Cartoon Swim, Adult Swim on Cartoon Network. It should be in that vein of those type of shows.
It feels like Metalopolis. Yeah, well, however you say that.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Metalopolis.
It's a fine song. It's just not. It's a theme song. It's not a song.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I'm just not a big fan of it. It's a theme song. It doesn't have a hook. It's not a. something I can sing along to other than Absalom Dak, Dalek Killer.
Well, I think maybe that was the intent for it to be a theme for the comics. You put your little flexi disc on the turntable, you start it up, and then you sit down with your Doctor Who magazine. You read your Absalom Dalek Killer comics. There you go.
That works.
It's a TV show in your mind.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Let's move on to the next one because this one is fun.
The Bessies were a band named after the Doctor's ride, and they present Silly Song.
An evil frown, sadistic eyes, a sting in his tail. His vengeance and barrows cannot fail. He's got no legs or what to drink to fight on. Turn your back and he'll steal your sight on. Shiny body, an ugly mug. He's nothing more than a giant slug. Oh, that's Bill. Oh, that's Bill. Oh, that's Bill. Oh, that's Bill. He gets right up.
So this was released in 1991. The Bessie's
That new, huh?
It was on the Bessie's Beaten Bop EP cassette. There's a reason behind that. As I mentioned at the beginning of the review, Chameleon Circuit could be considered the father of Doctor Who tribute bands, but this band might be considered its grandfather because the Bessies was a Doctor Who fan group, and they made this tribute song to Doctor Who villain Syl, hence Silly Song. And of course, we know Syl was played by Nabil Shaban in Vengeance on Varos and Mind Warp. And the Bessies were a group who played Doctor Who events, and they sold this cassette at their gigs. And there are actually 4 tracks on this cassette, and I imagine they probably recorded this cassette at home in their garage. But the first song was called the Artek Boogie, and then, of course, Silly Song was the second. Do the Quark, which unfortunately I could not find for you, Keith.
Oh.
And then number 4 was Time Rotor Blues. So Silly Song right now is the only thing I could get a hold of. I'd love to, if anybody knows where I can run down these other songs from this cassette, I just let me know. Glenn at travelingthevortex.com, please, because I would love to get a hold of the rest of these songs. But Silly Song right now is the only one I could run down.
I am so intrigued by everything else on this cassette. I almost don't want to review this one now.
We'll wait till we get the entire cassette.
Silly Song. Yes, it is.
Apt title.
It's an ode to Syl.
Well, I love the double meaning, yeah.
Yeah, and clever. There's a part of me that really wants to ask, why? But you're talking to a guy who wrote Ode to America, so I got nothing, man.
Yeah, we should put Ode to America to music.
Yeah,
I'm gonna write a protest theme and use those lyrics. We'll bring in some guest stars to like Casey Kasem. He'd do it. I think I could get a hold of Elton John.
I love the lyrics on this. Butter him up and water him down. A rubber head and an evil frown. Sadistic eyes, a sting in his tail. His vengeance on Varos cannot fell. He's got no legs, a water tank to fight on. Turn your back and he'll steal your Zaton. Shiny body and ugly mug. He's nothing more than a giant slug. Oh, that's Syl. I love how it's kind of matter-of-factly. It's like you're like somebody has asked, who is this guy? And they're responding, oh, it's Syl. I love it. It's so good.
It's like if Doctor Who Confidential was done as a children's show, and that was somebody asked, who is Syl? And then you bring this band on to perform. That's how this should work. In other news, I've just created a new children's show. BBC, you should call me.
Oh, but your honest opinion, what do you think of the song?
I'm sorry, I really tried to hold that
says
in.
It all. That says it all.
Yeah, the recording didn't help. It was kind of hard to understand the lyrics a little bit because it came from a cassette tape.
Yes.
And who knows how warped that cassette tape was. It took... It probably took until the second chorus to realize that they were actually talking about Syl the character. I was like, what is this song even to do with Doctor Who?
I wonder, to be honest, when I ran across this, I found it on a Russian Doctor Who site and years ago, and I've been sitting on this song, and I hadn't listened to it very much until I put together this compilation of stuff. And the reason I hadn't is because the first time that I heard it, I couldn't figure out how it related to Doctor Who, so I shelved it. And it wasn't until later.
Bessie's.
It wasn't until right, exactly, and that's what I thought that it was from. And it wasn't until later that I started listening to it and was able to make out. And I think the first thing it came across was the giant slug, and then it's Syl. Then I remember listening to it again and hearing Varens on Veros, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. And I looked up the lyrics, and luckily the lyrics were online. And as I read through it, and then I could listen to it. So this time, when I revisited it, I came back to it, and each time I listened to it, it grew more. It grew on me more and more, and so to the point where by the end of this, or by the end of last week, when I was listening to this thing, I'd actually get excited when this one came on because it just became this jaunty song about Syl that I thoroughly enjoyed. So this is one that I went from not so much liking to being one of my favorites on this list.
Okay, so maybe I just need to listen to it more.
Or
it's
not,
a fitting song for Syl. I will give it that.
Yeah.
Yes, you too should be brainwashed. Listen to it over and over and over until you like it.
That's probably what's happened.
Glenn has Stockholm syndrome with this song.
he ain't no windowsill. He don't use no Clarisil. He's a wicked nasty Syl.
Well, the good news is when we review what's the Syl movie?
I've got it on my shelf here. I can't read it. It's too far away. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
When we get around to reviewing that, you have the theme song for that episode already lined up.
There you go. There you go.
We're all set. We're ahead of the game now.
Okay, moving along.
We've heard from doctors and companions and cars, but what we haven't had yet on our countdown are the villains. Well, they come in hot with Doctor Who on a Mission by the Cybermen.
This song was released in 1996, and I could find very little information about this song. I searched and searched and searched. What I do know is it was a single released by Academy Street Records. The Cybermen were a Scottish electro dance group with a tech house sound, and the song was produced by Andy Hadane. I stumbled across this song on that same Russian Doctor Who fan site that several years back that I had found the Bessie's song. And I've had it since then, and I thought I should include it on this collection to give more diversity and maybe even please Keith because it's the Cybermen.
Cybermen, yeah.
What'd you guys think of this one?
Go ahead, Sean.
You know what struck me with this one is, no, this should be our new theme song. This is just a fun. I mean, it's very much a take on variations on a theme. But I have kind of a soft, gooey center when it comes to anything from Dance Dance Revolution, which is what this really reminded me of.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's so upbeat techno kind of thing, and it's weird because it predates that game by a couple of years. If I'm thinking right, I don't think Dance Dance was big. till 98.
Yeah, no, you're right. But it's the thing is, the reason Dance Dance is so popular is because it built on those songs that were coming out in the mid 90s to the late 90s, especially especially those tech house sound.
I do enjoy a good tech house sound, and this was a good tech house sound. So, thumbs up for me.
This I enjoyed this song. It's not one I'll return to a lot. It's like Sean said, variations on a theme, so a nice reimagining / remixing of the theme tune. It sounded like something, if I had known about Doctor Who back when I was trying to be a sound guy and do DJ type stuff, and when I was playing around with whatever free music producing software I could have found that let me, put samples in and make my own songs. This sounds like something I would have made. So it gets points for that. It gives kind of me a personal nostalgia feel to it, even though I had nothing to do with it. And it was before I knew anything about Doctor Who, so it just felt like a meshing of two worlds almost.
It really did.
Young Keith would have done this.
It really did teeter on the edge of making this list for me, and I did really put in consideration the fact that, well, it's different. It does mention the Cybermen in the song, and it was a nod to one of Keith's favorite Doctor Who villains. What almost kicked it off is the fact that it really is more of a variation on the theme. It's just a techno beat of Doctor Who, but there is some lyric to it. So albeit we are the Cybermen over and over and over again. There's nothing else besides that. But because it did have some lyrics to it and wasn't simply just the Doctor Who's theme done in house tech, that's why I was able to justify putting it on this list, or else it may not have made it. So I'm
very glad you put this on the list.
Yeah, me too.
It's a good song. I enjoy it. It's catchy and it's fun to listen to. And what's to hate about it? I mean, most of it is the Doctor Who theme. I mean, we all love the Doctor Who theme in any variation they make it in. So,
I mean, that's the thing with it, is that's where it kind of loses points, where it doesn't get more creative than just remixing the Doctor Who theme.
Yeah, right.
It has very much the feel of the Jumper Tree song too. They're kind of in the same vein, in my opinion.
Well, and we're very much going to stick with the variations on a theme with our next one.
Arguably the most famous song on our list this evening, "Doctor in the TARDIS" by the Time Lords.
So this one was released in 1998, and as Casey mentioned, this is also one of the more familiar songs of this bunch. The song is pretty much a mashup of the Doctor Who theme and Gary Glitter's Rock and Roll Part 2. It was produced by Bill Drummond and Jim Cauty, but credited to the fictional talent of Ford Time Lord, which was actually Cauty's 1968 Ford Galaxy American police car. Cauty and Drummond claimed that Ford gave them the instructions on how to make the record. Ford featured on the sleeve of the single, and he was quoted saying, "Hi, I'm Ford Time Lord, I'm a car, and I've made a record. I mixed and matched the tunes we all know and love, got some mates down, and made this record. Sounds like a hit to me." The Doctor in the TARDIS music video features Ford Time Lord driving around the countryside chasing Daleks. Now, the single was not well received by critics, but it was a commercial success, hitting number 1 on the UK and New Zealand singles charts and reaching the top 10 in Australia, Finland, Ireland, and Norway. So this is a Doctor Who novelty song that has actually charted, and at number 1 nonetheless.
I am shocked, I say, to find out that. Wow.
Wow.
Feedback.
Loud motorcycle going down the street.
Oh, I thought maybe that was Ford Time Lord.
I am shocked to find out that this is simply not the actual lyrics to Rock and Roll Part 2. Because I thought that was the truth. I'm not lying. It's like when I grew up and thought that this is one of the greatest conspiracies in the history of the world. That rock and roll, da 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 da, and everybody goes, "Yeah, I know that one." It has lyrics. Doctor Who, hey, the TARDIS. I mean, that just, I bit hook, line, and sinker on that. And so now I'm rather disappointed to find out that no, it's simply a mashup. And I have once again had my illusions shattered. But I like the song.
As soon as it started playing, I knew it, but I don't know where I had heard it before. I don't know if it was a matter of I'm remembering, Rock and Roll Part 2, and it just melds in my head somewhere, or where I even possibly could have heard it. But it's a very clever idea, I think, to mash the two songs together and create such a catchy little tune.
I would agree. I was very familiar with Gary Glitter's Rock and Roll Part 2, mostly because it was always played at high school and college games when I was in school, and you couldn't get away from it. It just became one of those rock anthem songs, and so I always have sort of kind of liked that song. And when I first heard this, I very much thought that I was listening to Rock and Roll Part 2. And then they started saying Doctor Who, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. No, this is different. This is they're like parodying that song. And this is probably the one, on this list is probably the first Doctor Who novelty song that I ever heard. So it's been at least that long ago. I would say probably in the late 90s is when I heard this. So I don't know that it would have played on American radio anywhere, but at the very least, it was making the rounds on the internet as late as 1998 or 99, when I was getting back into Doctor Who, as a matter of fact. All right, next up.
Heavy metal band Blitzkrieg comes along with I Am the Doctor, Who Are You?
I always dreamt of being a traveler in both space and time. Machine I took time for eternity was destined to be mine. Leave behind my fellow Time Lord. Adventure calls, we've gathered free. But to use the things they taught me, freedom reigns, not what they say. Davros built his Dalek army, made to conquer all. And each time I came across them, I beat them to the call. Cybermen and rest on robots, the many foes I've had to face. Like the Ronnie and the Monster, renegades from my own race. I am the Doctor. Who are you? Imagination, exploration, regeneration, save me time and time again.
So this one was also released in 1998. It's on the album The Misfits of Avalon by Blitzkrieg, and they're an English heavy metal band formed in Lancaster. No, I'm sorry.
Mists of Avalon.
This was released in 1998 and was on the album The Mists of Avalon. And Blitzkrieg is a English heavy metal band formed in Lancaster in 1980. The band has been around off and on until recently, but only one remaining original member is in the band today. And while still a novelty song, it is included on an album in what I would consider some serious heavy metal music. I think someone in the band must have been a fan, and they were able to kind of work this into the album itself. Because this band isn't typically, I mean, they're not a mainstream band, but they've had some records out there. They're at least familiar to some metal fans, and they've had a string of albums. But it's kind of unusual unless you're, someone like Rush and that's kind of your thing. It's kind of unusual to hear a genre song on just an average album. And this is one of those rare times that it shows up on one.
And not just a genre song, a branded genre song.
Yeah.
I dabbled in metal a little bit when I was younger, and never really got into it too heavily. So this one didn't strike too many chords with me, but I thought it was a fairly well done metal song about Doctor Who. I thought the lyrics, they did a good job kind of meshing the lyrics to a metal style. It was an okay one.
Same. I thought this was pretty legit. I'm not a metal fan by any stretch of the imagination, but every now and then, I like to thrash a bit. And this one, it sounds like something that maybe would have been on the heavy metal soundtrack. It just kind of has that vibe. And I don't know where I know Blitzkrieg from. I something about Blitzkrieg is familiar to me as a metal band, and I've been looking up their stuff on Wikipedia and whatnot, and I can't say that I recall any of these albums or any of the songs on these albums, so I don't know why my brain insists that I know them from somewhere, but I think I know them from somewhere.
I'm the same as you, Sean. When I heard the name of the group, I thought, oh, Blitzkrieg, surely that's a popular metal band. I think I've heard of them before. I did the same thing. I went and looked up their catalog, and I was like, I don't recognize any of these albums or any of these songs. And in fact, I thought this song was older than it is. And the reason I thought that is because I thought metal had evolved in 1998, because this sounds very much like a song that would have come out when I was in high school in the 90s or in the late 80s. So I was very surprised to find out that this was actually a decade out from when I thought it would have been. Maybe UK metal, maintained the same sound. I think it sort of evolved a little bit. In fact, it's a little more. We considered this light heavy metal back in the day. Heavy metal was like Metallica and Judas Priest and that kind of stuff. But you did consider bands like Motley Crue, but this is more in lines of kind of that more soft. I don't say softer, but that more mainstream metal than what I consider heavy metal. But it's a little more rock than metal. Yeah, it still feels like a metal band song, but it feels like to me, an 80s metal band song.
Yeah, it definitely has that 80s feel to it.
It's good. It's got great lyrics. It does. They know their stuff. They're certainly, hitting on all of the things. Type 40 TARDIS, Gallifrey, Davros, Cybermen, Rast on Robots. Yeah, which we've only had one instance in Doctor Who proper of the Rast on Robots. Expanded media obviously has had them before, but. Yeah, it's they did their homework and they knew what they were talking about. So,
Bill Bailey comes onto our list with a little ditty he calls Dr. Quee.
C'est lui, dans la nuit. Docteur qui? Il voyage dans le TARDIS. La boîte de téléphone fantastique d'espace.
L'intérieur est beaucoup plus grand que l'extérieur. Mais ça, c'est le mystère du Dr. Key.
So this one was released in 2003, and this is by comedian and actor Bill Bailey. He reimagined the television show's theme as a down-tempo jazz / lounge piece with noir vocals in French. Now, I've talked about this before on the podcast, but Bailey made a guest appearance in 2011 in the Christmas special, The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe. He's one of the Harvest Rangers from the planet Androzani Major that lands on that planet. Mm-hmm. Before that, though, his love of Doctor Who was already well known among fans, and in 2003 he performed this truly inspired piece.
Okay, so go ahead.
I had to laugh so hard as soon as the song started playing, and I realized what was happening.
Yeah, it takes probably a few beats to realize what's going on, especially when he finally starts hitting on things like, Daleks. You do hear that in there. You do hear Davros in there. TARDIS, yeah. I thought the same thing. I thought, okay, where are we going with this? And then, yeah, he hits on those, and you're like, oh, okay, I see what he's doing here.
I assumed you put it on the list because it was in French.
Well,
because of history with French.
I certainly did. In fact, the reason I put on it here is, Sean, you've had 3 years of French. One. So, can you help us translate this a little bit?
No.
Well,
next question.
You're in luck. I have a little thing called Google Translate, and here are the words in English.
It doesn't work for French. It doesn't work for French. I tried.
So here it is in English. It's him in the night, Doctor Who. He travels in the TARDIS, the fantastic space phone box. The interior is much larger than the exterior, which obviously that's a literal translation. It's bigger on the inside. And that's the mystery of Doctor Who. The enemy, his name is Davros, the captain of the Daleks, which I'm assuming, again, translating it would be his enemy is Davros, who's leader of the Daleks. He's half Dalek and half man. Amazing. He wants to control the world, always control the world. He gets up in the morning, he wants to control the world. After breakfast, he wants to control the world. But he never controlled the world. It's not very realistic. With the Daleks, the Doctor is superior. Exterminate yourself again. Aw, damn it. The Doctor wins. He laughs. Ha ha ha. I won because I am Doctor Who. That's the lyrics to the song in English.
Okay, so I'm wrong. This should be our new theme song. Are you kidding me? A Peanuts jazz lounge theme with French lyrics. Highlight of the collection. And yes, I understand that its inclusion rests solely on the opportunity to poke a little fun at Sean. And I'm okay with that. Because it was that awesome.
It is also because Bill Bailey is one of my favorite British comedians. So there was another reason for it to land on here.
Oh, this is so great. Folks, you must seek this song out. No Doctor Who fans collection is complete without this. Let me tell you. I wish to God we had the rights to these. We would release a K-Tel record collection of this compilation just for this song. If I had money, I would buy the rights to these songs in order to be able to release a K-Tel compilation to put this one out there.
All right, well, let's move on to our next eclectic ad.
We're coming up to the end of our countdown now with a little ditty from Martin Gordon. Her daddy was a Dalek, her mummy was a non-stick frying pan.
She's not like the other girl. She lives in another world. She does things very differently. I put it
this song. This song. This song was released. Well, here's the thing about this. This song was released in 2004. Another one that I couldn't find a lot about, but presumably it's inspired by Quiet Son's "Mommy Was an Asteroid" and "Daddy Was a Small Non-Stick Kitchen Utensil," which is actually a song. This is actually a song.
That is a mouthful.
And this song is from Martin Gordon's "The Joy of More Hogwash" album. So. Gordon's an English musician who plays bass guitar, double bass, and piano, and he had he has releases that mock a lot. Most recently, political events. He just recently reworked his 2017 song "Idiots" into one that's now called "COVIDiots." So he's a political activist, to say the least. Now, this particular song, I searched high and low and high and low, and I could not find the lyrics for this song anywhere. And unfortunately, it's a song that's in such a frantic pace that I can't understand half the things he's saying anyway. And I'm not even sure any of the song has anything to do with or points to Doctor Who, with the exception of the fact that her daddy was a Dalek and her mummy was a non-stick frying pan. And I was real careful not to use songs that just capitalized on a word like Dalek or exterminate or TARDIS and didn't really have anything to do with Doctor Who. But this title was so obscure, and it had Dalek in the title. I thought, okay, I'm going to include this on this list just for the sheer fact of its title. What do you guys think?
The basic gist of this one is a doomed relationship. We're too far. First of all, it's a long distance relationship, spanning the galaxy. Obviously, we assume that the narrator is human. And that the love of his life, well, her daddy was a Dalek and her mommy was a non-stick frying pan. That's bound to create some issues in a relationship. And at the end of the day, we're just too different. I'm with Glenn. I don't know that I understood most of. That's what I got out of it.
That's pretty much it.
I love it.
I'm not sure if they.
I love you did. Like a music analyst, like, well, this is the real meaning behind the song.
I don't know how it ends. I genuinely don't know what happened to these kids, and I'm a little concerned because, is it a little ditty about Jack and Diane, or is it more like, I don't know. I don't know what is it scenes from an Italian restaurant, or I just don't know what happens to them, and maybe it's Young Turks. I want to know
if they did get together. What do their children look like?
What does she look like?
Oh my God!
Her mummy was a Dalek, and her daddy was a non-stick. Or regardless, her daddy was a Dalek, and her mom was a non-stick frying pan. What does she look like?
She's the nightmare child.
And she was in love with him.
That's why they never explained that story, because this is this is that story.
Our TD was like, no, I can't go into it.
Maybe if you put a Dalek with a non-stick frying pan, maybe you get a quark.
Ooh.
I don't know, but the fact that the Bessies have a song about the quark, I got to go back to that one. The fact that this is on a cassette tape, like, I suddenly realized that the quark body is kind of the perfect shape for a cassette player. So now I think when we release our K-Tel album set, it should come out on cassette. And if you buy the deluxe edition, you get a little quark cassette player to play on it. We can swing that, right, Glenn?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Little arms unfold and you put the tape in. Oh.
Gotta make the sound effects.
That's the door. Oh, let's wrap it up with one more entry onto our list.
We wrap things up this evening with Mitch Ben. Call me during Doctor Who, and I'll kill you.
I know you think of me as someone to rely on, helping hand or just a shoulder to cry on. Though I'm glad you feel that way, there's something I must say. I'm sorry, but I won't be there for you this Saturday. Cause call me during Doctor Who and I'll kill you. Leave me in peace if you want to survive. As far as you're concerned, I'm incommunicado. 7 p.m. till 7:45.
All right, so this song was released in 2005, and this is our first song that, our last song on our list is the first song released after the show came back. Mitch Ben is an English comedian, author, and musician, and he is known for comedy rock songs performed on BBC Radio. This song was performed on the Now Show for the first time, Series 15 in 2005, and it was shortly before Rose debuted in the UK. Ben has several comedy albums, but Ben has several comedy albums, but this is not on any of them. However, you can buy the track on his Bandcamp page. So what did you guys think of this?
This one was really funny.
I think this was probably every fan's sentiment at the time.
It's still every fan's sentiment, really.
Yeah, that's true. Although it's a little more on demand nowadays, but
yeah, but still.
Of all of the novelty songs that we've had on here, this is the one that, for me, I think had the most Weird Al vibe.
Yeah.
To it. Specifically, it was kind of radioactive hamsters from a planet near Mars. That's the one that really sprung to mind.
Sure.
When listening to it, and it's fun and it's topical, and I think we've all been there. We all turn a little bit into Liam Neeson at times. It's like, why are you on my phone right now? Doctor Who's on. This one was a blast. It was a lot of fun.
It makes me want to go look up his other comedy and see what he talks about.
I thought the same thing. I thought this is a guy that I could probably collect all of his music and enjoy every bit of it as much as I enjoyed this song. Regardless of the fact if it's about Doctor Who or not, this guy has a real, as Sean pointed out, a real Weird Al quality to him. It's very clever writing. It's very funny writing. It's very comedic writing. It's well done. It's that imagined, sentiment that fans, rabid fans would have. I'll do anything for you, but don't bother me at this time because this is going to be my focus for about an hour. After that, then we're good again. So I thoroughly enjoyed this song as well. It is definitely one of my favorites on this list. Again, another one that the chorus is one thing, and then the pacing and the tempo changes into something different for the chorus, or the verses are one thing, and then the chorus and tempo changes again for the chorus,
which is what makes it so funny.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you were to pick your favorite on this list of 14 songs, what would it be? Keith, you're first.
I'd probably have to go with the Ballad of Doctor Who, because that's the one that's stuck in my head the most.
Sean, what did you think?
Straight up tie between Who's Doctor Who and Dr. Key.
I think mine is a tie between silly songs, and again, it's you have to listen to it many times, and then call me during Doctor Who, and I'll kill you. I think it's a tie between those songs for me. All right.
Stuff.
Well, there you go, folks. I hope you enjoyed our little rundown and had some fun. And we haven't even really mentioned that we've made it to 500 episodes, guys. This is number 500.
Wow.
I mean, this is something to celebrate right now. I can't believe, I wouldn't have thought, 10 plus years ago that we would have made it to 500 episodes. I wouldn't imagine we made it to 200 episodes, let alone 500. But it's been quite a crazy ride. Despite the fact that we were on hiatus, I don't think we plan to go anywhere soon. So we should be back on your feeds on a little more regular basis than we have been. We've got a lot more stuff planned beyond 500. Oh,
and obviously a thank you to all of our fans out there for, getting us to 500. We wouldn't be here. Well, we probably would, but we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys tuning in and telling us that you like what we do. So a big thank you to all of you out there who make that possible. Coming up, we have our next episode will be a book review back into the Lethbridge Stewart verse, or the Brigg verse. With The Laughing Gnome, Rise of the Dominator by Robert Mamone. And we have a tie-in that, to celebrate 500 episodes. Our good friend, Rick Cross, who has written Times Squared for the Brigverse series, has been kind enough to send us one of the new special edition prints of that book. And so we have it, and we are going to give it away to one of our lovely listeners. And it's quite simple. All you have to do is get out there onto any of our social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc., and tag us, and then use the hashtag #TimesSquaredSE. And we'll draw a name out of the hat from everybody who responds and send you this lovely book, which Rick has autographed for us. So it's got a signature, folks. It doesn't get any more special than this. And I need to say a big thank you to Rick, because he contacted me a bit back about doing this, and I jumped on it and failed to acknowledge that the package arrived until he asked me a little bit later and was like, "Hey, did you ever get that thing I sent you?" So I feel kind of bad about that. So yes, I did get it, Rick, and we thank you very, very much for the opportunity to give away more goodness. And if you guys haven't read this one, obviously our review is out there on the feeds, because we thoroughly enjoyed it.
We should mention this also includes a new short story from him.
Yes, there's an additional bit of bonus content, so which I'm looking forward to reading, because I've not read it yet.
So if you already own this one, you still might want this one, because it has the free story. It has the brand new cover on it. It is a special edition, and it's signed by our friend, Rick Cross. All right. Well, we'd go further out, but I'm not sure we know exactly what we're doing further out, so we'll just wrap the show up from there. Be sure to check out the website, travelingthevortex.com, for those updates on the podcast. And if you get any value out of this podcast, why not consider putting some value back into it? You can do that by visiting our Patreon link and consider supporting us there. And thank you for those who already are. And also, please consider giving us a 5-star review wherever you subscribe to podcasts. That helps bump us up in the ratings and recommendations. And then make sure you join in the conversation in your listeners forum on Facebook. There you can also engage with other listeners and share your thoughts and insights with us. Anything else before we close this one? Big 500. If not, until next time, I'm Glenn.
I'm Sean.
I'm Keith.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
Be seeing you, and thank you for listening.
And I'm Casey Kasem, reminding you, keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. Good night, everybody.
You have been listening to Traveling the Vortex. Doctor Who and all of its associated programs are owned and trademarked by the BBC. No infringement is intended or implied.